Good morning, everyone. It is April 19th, 2022. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good morning. It's nice to see a full house this morning. Welcome. The first order of business is the minutes. Anyone have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right.
Second?
Motion made by Commissioner DeLine, seconded by Commissioner Batch. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Moving on to the review and approval of agenda. Anything that needs to be added or subtracted? Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner DeLine. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. None opposed? All right. Consent agenda. Anything anyone would like to remove for further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeLine.
I'd like to remove B1
All right.
from the consent agenda.
All right. Thank you, and I would have removed that one myself, so anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I'd like to pull F1.
F1?
Tracy's gonna think I'm after her, but
Okay.
got a few questions is all.
All right. Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the two items removed.
All right, motion made by Commissioner DeLiden,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Those, Commissioner DeLiden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When our county receives certificate of achievements for the 6th year in a row, I don't think it's something that should be buried, hidden in the consent agenda. I really believe that it should be shouted from the rooftops.
They're very modest.
Agreed.
Yeah,
A little too modest, Lindsay.
and I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not happens to every county, and it just goes to show the fiscal responsibility that the county does and how a great job our finance department does. So, Lindsay, go ahead and take it away.
I will say that the finance team puts in a lot of effort, not only to compile the financial statements and go through the financial statement audit with our auditors every year. It is an all year long effort. It is the entirety of Heather's team and other financial staff throughout the county that put in the dedication to make sure that we have accurate information on an ongoing basis. It really is Heather and her entire team that pull it together at the end of the year and make this happen for us.
Madam
Anything you
Chair,
want to say?
Commissioner DeLiden.
how many people, how many counties actually received this? I mean, it's not a whole lot.
I believe it is the metro counties, but I can't give you a count. I mean, this is a national award, so it can be cities and other metro counties. There's a lot, but in Minnesota, I'd say there's less.
Yeah, it seems to me the last time I recall, it was like 8 or 9 counties in Minnesota.
That would make sense to me.
So, one out of 86, I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we're very grateful,
And proud of you guys for doing the job you do.
Yes.
for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. It's all owed to Heather and her team.
Okay, not you, Lindsay, Heather. We appreciate everything you've done.
And then Ryan and a few others are online.
Great, yes. Your
Anyway,
whole-
thank you all.
Your whole team, yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. All right, and now we go to F. one. Mary?
Yeah, just a second here. Okay. Is Tracy here? No?
Don't
Is she on the line?
So, Commissioner Wetter, this is Barry Reinberger. I'm sorry I didn't make the, didn't get over there. I was off yesterday, so I had a lot to do in my office, so I didn't come over. But Tracy is here in my office with me. And so if you have some questions, she could potentially answer them for you.
Okay,
She didn't think it was gonna get pulled, so she didn't come over.
she should know better when it's me. Anyways,
It's okay.
Number 14 about construction inspections. What kind of construction was being done?
There was construction on a new manure stacking slab.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And then 22 and 23, some sites were inspected and were found to be non-compliant with the water quality discharge standards. And I guess I was wondering what kind of problems were they and have they been resolved now?
Some of the issues were runoff to wetland and the drainage ditch. So some of it's a matter of distance and rerouting the water to go a longer distance over like a buffer, a grass, pasture, something like that. And most of these were discovered late in the year, last year, October. And so nothing has been resolved yet. Generally, they work with Soil and Water Conservation District to come up with a plan and try and implement stuff over the summer.
Okay, so they're in the works, in other words.
Yes.
Okay. Then a little bit farther where it's sort of, it says additional performance credit calculations and supplemental information.
Yes.
The very end, it says about inspect 3 sites never inspected or inspected over 5 years ago. 19 feedlots were first-time inspections or the site was last inspected over 5 years ago. So I was curious, how did they get missed?
Well, if you notice the first-time inspections or last inspected over 5 years ago, it's lumped together. So not all of those were missed. There were 2 that were missed. Actually, they're on a gravel road and they just never came up. It was on a road I had never been on, hadn't had any feedlots nearby, so I hadn't seen them on air photos. Producers don't voluntarily come in normally for me to do an inspection. So luck, but most of them were just over 5 years ago since I inspected them. And so that's just a category. I don't know.
I guess I was curious whether these might have been new ones that just never came in for the proper planning and paperwork.
Well, yeah, actually 2, they hadn't registered, but then a lot of producers aren't aware they're supposed to.
So how does that happen? I mean, whose responsibility would that be to get that information out to them?
Well, it's kind of twofold. One is it's required by the county ordinance, so that's on the producer.
Okay.
But for me, I have to know they exist, and then I tell them. So I have to track them down. The Soil and Water Conservation did the original canvassing of the whole county for feedlots. And when I started, that was the list I worked off of.
Okay. Okay, so it actually was missed somewhere along the line. I was just curious. Could you explain last question, then you can do something else. About at the very end, it talks about the MPCA staff, and then they have what they call a tempo review. Could you explain what that is? Is that just computer programming?
Yes. Tempo is the state filing system. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for, but the Pollution Control Agency uses it for all of their programs. Solid waste, the people that do gas stations, feedlots. I only look at the feedlot stuff, but that's the state program, and that's where all the registration information goes.
Okay.
And the inspection information gets entered.
Okay, thank you. That's all then.
All right.
Thank you,
Is there
ma'am.
a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion then to approve the feedlot officer's annual report for 2021 as written.
And
And
also
can I get you to add in the,
B1?
Oh, and I'm sorry, and B1. I mean, that's a tremendous, in fact, I was going to ask what kind of agency that was, but when she said it was a federal, I thought, wow, that's great.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Wetter, seconded by Commissioner Belyden. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, we welcome Mr. Brian Lutz and Sarah.
Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to introduce my newest attorney, Sarah Erickson. She started yesterday. She took the spot of Carrie Willis, who was appointed to become a judge in Wright County. Sarah comes to us with lots of experience. She graduated from Hamlin Law School in 2012. She was general counsel for an architectural firm for several years, and most recently she was with the Mille Lacs County Attorney's Office for more than 3 years. She prosecuted domestic violence cases, other assault type cases, theft related cases, juvenile delinquencies, and also advised the board on some civil matters. One of the benefits as county attorney, and I've been lucky enough to hire several attorneys who come from smaller counties, they have a lot of broad-based experience, so it's nice if you have people who are out, or just if one area has lots to do on a given day or week. Attorneys who come from smaller counties can play many roles, and Sarah can fulfill that as well. She's joining my gross misdemeanor team, so she's going to prosecute those cases in her initial assignment with my office. Her husband is a police officer from Mille Lacs County, and she lives in Otsego, so she's in the right county to steal.
Yeah, she moved to the right county. To answer Mark's question.
Yeah, man, you're hiring the right people.
Right, exactly.
How long have you guys lived in Otsego?
We moved there in January of, not this year, last year. We were both living in North Minneapolis and commuting to.
Oh,
Husband said,
Yeah.
not doing this anymore, so we moved and we really, really like it a lot. So
Yeah.
it was a really good move for us.
Your husband's interested, I have openings too.
I've already interrupted.
He's been with Lax County for a while, so I think he's like number 3 in seniority, so he has no chance of moving anywhere. But I'll let him know.
Oh,
You're welcome.
welcome aboard.
yeah.
Glad to have you join our county attorney's team. So,
I'm glad to be here.
And good luck.
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
And beware of the guy that wears a bow tie.
All right. Next, Mr. John Bowen. John was here.
Yeah, it's in the back.
Keep right in here, yeah.
Mr. John Bowen. Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Our office, as well as the county attorney's offices in Stearns and Sherburne, put together a joint powers agreement. It is authorized by Minnesota statutes, section 471, 59, and it grants authority for counties to work cooperatively between county lines to provide assistance to other counties. As stated in the request for board action, the patrols are scheduled to occur on a weekly basis, rotating between the member counties. The command staff at the sheriff's offices have had some meetings about this. They're coordinating the schedules, the command structure for the Joint Powers Agreement. This agreement is put before the board for approval, really because it enhances public safety, it promotes cooperation. Really, it's a win-win for residents of Wright County.
Good. Does anyone have any questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Whiter?
What are you mainly looking for? Is
It's a
it
traffic
speed?
traffic saturation patrol, so really anything traffic related is my understanding. DWI enforcement, anything traffic. Speed, absolutely, yes.
Distracted driving.
Yep, everything. Yep. It runs the whole. It runs the whole gamut. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
You stop them even for seatbelts?
Well, I mean, I think that that would be up to the individual officer to decide whether they're going to pull somebody over for a seatbelt, but that would be within their discretion under the law to do so.
Okay.
In Wright County, we don't like to restrict our law enforcement on what they can and can't do. We let them do their jobs, and that's the way we like to see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Madam
John.
Chair?
Yes. Approval?
Can we get actual dates and locations that they're going to be doing this activity?
Yeah,
Just so that I know what area to avoid. What do you mean, no?
Let's see here. It'll be, St. Michael, Saturday. I'd like to know that too.
I'll make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement between Wright County Sheriff's Office, Sherburne County, and Stearns County Sheriff's Office.
All right, motion
Second.
made by Commissioner Lyons, seconded by Commissioner Wetter. Any more discussion? Hearing
I
none?
really think they should let us know.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, John. All right, Mr. Matt Detchen.
Good morning, Madam
Good
Chair,
morning.
members of the board. My timed item today is to schedule a public hearing for the redetermination of benefits on County Ditch 23 and 31. Commissioner Hewson brought up that the date that I suggested, May 31st, you guys do not have a board meeting, so we looked at potentially June 7th at 1 p.m. for these hearings.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
If you remember, we had on the agenda for later to potentially switch that week off, but
We do, but,
I don't know if we want to talk about that now or not.
yeah, thank you, Commissioner Ketchmark. I think that we can just deal with this unless, there didn't seem to be a problem to change it to June 7th, so whatever we do later in the meeting won't be affected by this, unless anyone has an objection to that.
Nope.
All right,
Oh, will that be at 1 o'clock again?
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
Okay.
okay,
All right.
so is there a motion to that effect?
Make a motion to set the ditch committee, or the ditch committee of the whole for a public hearing on May 31st for county ditches 23 and 31.
No,
Nope.
June 7th.
Or sorry, I'm sorry, June 7th. I'm reading here and
Yeah, I know.
June 7th at 1 p.m. in the new government center, because we'll be safe
We
by
will be
then.
there by then, yes.
I hope.
No, it's sounding really good in there, this technology, so. All right, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, second. Motion made by Commissioner Vesh, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ditch 23 and ditch 31, where are those located?
Woodland.
Woodland?
Yep.
Okay. And have we done anything with these ditches at all in the past?
Yeah, done some repairs. That's actually why my position was made. There was an issue with Ruckles Lake on County Ditch 31 that we have pending litigation, from my understanding, through the Department of Natural Resources on still for County Ditch 31 for lowering a culvert. So.
At 31 there, that's the highway is doing the culvert.
Yeah, the culvert replacement and
That
lowering.
came up in the Transportation Committee.
Was that
Of
the,
the whole-
was that the township road though?
On 8, under County Road 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the one that They're claiming low is too low?
Yeah, the replacement one that was set at the correct elevation in 2017 was pending, and then highway is.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dahl, I have to correct you. The culvert was set specifically where it was supposed to be set. It was not set too low. The DNR disputes that point, but the DNR doesn't know how to read signs or know how to read as-built plans on ditches.
Okay, so this was on a county road then? Because I remember, I thought there was also one that a township road had done too at one time.
It's underneath Township, Fillmore Avenue.
It is, okay.
Yes, it does.
All right.
Yes, no, the DNR actually came back after we did a repair panel on this, and it was found that the culvert was placed properly. So,
That was,
yep.
yeah.
I think people who know how to dig ditches know when the bottom is found, and they know what sediment is, but sometimes the DNR has a tough time figuring out the difference between mud and sand.
Yeah, we had quite the battle back then.
I just was trying to figure out if that was the same one we've dealt with in the past.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
All right. Any more discussion on that, or did you have something, Matt?
Yeah, sorry, I spoke with Laney about petitioning something on to the agenda. Marie, I don't know if I want to do it now. I know we're a little bit behind schedule with the timed items.
We didn't get anything else petitioned on.
We didn't get anything petitioned on, but
I do know that Joe Jacobs is here in attendance today and has done work in the past, and Matt had spoken about that brief discussion here. Noting we do have a public hearing here in 9 minutes, I would want to be pretty prompt about it, so.
yeah, so we have 9 minutes.
If you prefer, we could do it after.
Is there, should we have time to do this now?
It should be a relatively short discussion,
Short
I think.
discussion,
It's mostly
okay.
just about getting some details about some potential redetermination of benefits and
Okay.
utilization of their services.
Yeah. Sure, let's have that.
What ditch are you referring to,
Oh,
Matt?
we didn't vote though on this.
True, I should
scheduling
get that
the-
up quick.
The,
We
did
didn't,
I-
we didn't,
No.
we didn't vote on that.
Alright, so,
We're getting a little just diverted here. Okay. So the public hearing on June 7th, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to Joe.
All right, so Commissioner Vetch, Greg, and myself all discussed the possibility of doing a redetermination of benefits on County Ditch 35. And speaking with Joe, we got a kind of a not-to-exceed cost per acre on that ditch. But Joe is going to talk a little bit about maybe some price savings by combining and doing a few, and then just generally going over what he does with the Minnesota Viewers Association.
And we did get that information, so.
I think only you and I have
Okay.
gotten that information, but,
Joe Jacobs.
Joe Jacobs.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. Yeah, I was just discussing with Matt. I submitted a proposal, and the Ditch 35, it looks like it's right around 12 to 1,300 acres in watershed size. It's on the smaller size, on just economies of scale. Typically, we like to see 6,000 acres. It's kind of the sweet spot. So if there are a couple other ditch systems that need to be redetermined, they don't necessarily need to be together, but in their general vicinity, we'd be able to consolidate the meeting times and the travel times just to, try to make things as efficient for the landowners as possible. We can certainly do it, but, and it's not a huge increase. It's, right now, our proposal is $5 an acre. Typically, I like to be right around that $4, $3.80 to $4, depending on the watershed size and how many parcels there are. But we can definitely work with the county in as far as timing. If you want to try to consolidate, 2 or 3 other redeterminations in the general vicinity, we can certainly work with that. I just wanted to bring up to Matt's attention that I noticed, that bid, just because the size, we needed to have it a little higher to cover our fixed costs. But as far as, working with the county to make things as efficient as possible, we can certainly work with that this summer and get that done.
Thank you. Yeah, I know I have a system. They did approve it to go ahead with redetermination of benefits, but hadn't taken the next step. So I think, that's in the vicinity or fairly close. So I think that, we can talk with them and the town officers and see, if that's amenable to them.
Madam Chair, you're regarding to CD
17.
17, yes, yeah.
Yep. 17.
which, getting the economy of scale on it makes sense if we
Right.
can make that happen.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. And
That's a
that's,
small one.
And I do know that there's
It's a
also a JD4 coming up as well.
Oh, there is.
And so that might be something to consider as
okay,
well.
where's for? Is
It's over in Carver, Wright County.
Oh, it's right, yeah, right on the, right across the.
Right
road.
over by Winstead.
Okay,
That would have been approved by the host county.
yep.
Yeah, but I know it's a
Woodland
joint
again.
board, so, you know, there's at least one representative from Wright County on there. Something to consider, and I just wanted to, let you know that that's coming up as well. I think that is out for bid, and I'm gonna be doing a presentation for Carver County in May, so.
Okay.
Just wanted to bring it to your attention that we can definitely work around and try to get economies of scale for you.
Right.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Delighty?
So you are able to get it done this summer?
Yeah, on 35, and if it's another couple, one or two small systems, we should be able to get it done by end of July, because we do have some openings where there's a couple viewers that are available right now. We can basically work on it, and within, by end of July for sure.
Madam
That'd be
Chair,
great. Yeah.
and Matt,
Commissioner Vetch?
are you looking to get action to be able to, if you can work things out with the township and with the residents on 17 to move forward with,
Yeah,
doing it combined?
I'd like to do that so we can get an updated contract that reflects the additional work to reduce the cost per acre.
Because I would like to see if we can make that happen at all costs, just because getting that price down on 35, because the current price is a pretty high, and then I get why, because the size of that system just isn't
Right.
that large.
It's hard to approve it until we've had that discussion, though. I mean, unless we can approve it without, yeah.
We can approve it without it.
We can
I guess
approve it,
really at
right.
this point, if the county board / drainage authority agrees to choose viewer X to do the redetermination of benefits, I mean, we don't have to have the.
True, yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, Commissioner Ketchmark?
And is the bid cost allow for just, is it that like at a minimum number so that we can just pick one, or did two people submit bids, or how did that work?
We did not receive other bids for.
So that, well, it was offered, but nobody else responded, or?
No, just due to past experience, preference to go with the
Okay, well, I guess keeping in mind late notice here to the meeting, and it sounds like at least two other board members had some information that the rest of us didn't. I'd like to be provided all the information before I go with the motion or not.
before I bring it back to the board.
Yeah, it just, I mean, it's apparent that a couple have the info that the rest don't, and I kind of like to figure out how we ended up with one here and no other interest in others, but.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, this, and for Commissioner Catchmark, is with ditch issues, generally, we work with the commissioner that the ditches are within, because of the cost is all bared by the benefited landowners. So in this situation, all the costs are being bared by residents of Commissioner Houston in my district. So we are the ones in trying to find the comfortability of the viewer that we're looking with, because it has no effect on the cost of any residents in your district at all. So that's just the previous practice, because they want to make sure that first and foremost, that the citizens of the commissioners that they're representing that are impacted are comfortable with it. Then we bring it to the board for discussion. Now, from whether we bid or do not bid out viewers, in this area, there's really only about 3 viewers to choose from. So the market is complicated. One of them at this current time we are unable to use because we have pending redetermination of benefits with them, and until we can finalize those redetermination of benefits, it's kind of a movement there. And the other one, the timeliness makes it a little bit challenging to use. So that's why we didn't go out for bid on it. But
And I guess basically at this point, we've scheduled a public hearing for the redetermination benefits, so we've already scheduled that. And
For two, yeah, those are 2 different ditch systems. So this, I haven't brought back.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah,
I'm
the
confused
proposal,
already.
Because it could be a difference between $5 an acre and.
Yeah, we're basically looking at right around 380 to 4 is typically where we try to get in. This came in at 5. On this side, this system, it's about $1,000 difference. So it's not a huge difference as far as monetary wise, but if you look at it acre by acre basis, it's $1 an acre.
Yeah.
But
I
in
mean,
the big picture, it's not a huge dollar amount.
it makes complete sense to do that. I just like to probably have that discussion before I move forward, maybe put that next week on, yeah.
Yeah. And if there's any other information you'd like from me or my team, I'd be more than happy to discuss that with you.
Madam Chair. And I'm on one of those joint ditches, and it's probably one of the presentations you're talking about that I'll be in on. So it's your firm and another firm, and there's gonna be a comparison of the two. So I guess all viewers and some people's minds weren't created equal, and the process and the price. So that's what I'm wondering about, because we got one here, we got the joint one where the joint board requested that both do a separate presentation because there was a cost difference. But then with that cost, you get something that you don't get with the lower one.
And I'll tell you that you'll find out very quickly that some people some people find one area is the only way it should be done, and some feel like the other way. That's where we've gotten messy and where things haven't gotten adopted from redetermination of benefits, because everybody's searching for a better deal in terms of how the roles are split.
Right. All right. So we'll just bring this back next week, and after we've had time to have a little discussion, and, okay.
Madam Chair, I think it's always funny because no matter how you have these discussions, and I feel bad for these viewers because they really get raked over the coals, because every time you come out with it, everybody tried to use as their competing viewers, saying that this is the only system it should be done because they didn't get their percentage was too high.
Right. Yeah,
and
I
they
know.
should have been X versus.
Yep. And, it's going to happen. It just needs to.
It's part of the game.
All right, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Matt. Thanks,
No problem. Thank you, guys.
All right, we're a couple minutes past 9:30, so we will open up the public hearing for county commissioner districts. We had, from the last census, not this current census, but from the last census, when the commissioners drew up the district, they put fewer people in the eastern side, and so that could kind of catch up to keep our districts essentially within that 10% of each other, so we didn't have to do any new lines, but.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I could, I think you provided a very good overview. Thought it would be wise, just as an opportunity today, to get any public comment on the redistricting. Again, as you mentioned, the commissioners did take action at the prior census to have the forethought and arrange the districts where there was going to be the greatest amount of growth. So what is being proposed to be adopted is just a continuation of the districts as they sit currently. We do not have to redraw anything, as there's none of the tests under statute 375A where we have to redistrict. Certainly the board could if they wanted, but as proposed, we did not feel as staff the need to do so. So just wanted to provide the opportunity for the public to provide any input today. And then if we could have a motion after the public hearing to adopt what is being proposed to move forward, as we do have to notify the state and make a few other public notices made in the upcoming weeks. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Glyden.
Yeah, they did a great job for the first time in a long time. They, after the census, we didn't have to redo the districts. That being said, in 2032, the districts will change. Probably very dramatically, especially if you consider the growth in the eastern part of the county continues to grow like it has.
And potentially 7 commissioners, depending on our
There's that
population.
potential, yeah. A lot of it's going to depend on how it can get drawn out and how it can be as fair as possible. So that will remain to be seen.
All right. I will open up the floor for the public. If anyone has any comments, they would please come to the podium, state your name and your address, town. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak for the reestablishment adoption of commissioner districts? Anyone from the public who would like to speak? Someone approaching? You can go right up to the podium. Yep. And just your name and
Tina Gady, 12330 73rd Street in Otsego.
All right. Tina, go ahead.
I am just concerned about the district lines. I obviously am in Otsego, and we're almost 20,000. And we've got, St. Michael within our district. I just think that waiting 10 more years to change district lines is just way too long. I think we need to take a look at it now and possibly create another district, District 6. But I think looking at the populations of each area, and I don't have the numbers with me, I do, but I don't have them in front of me, but the population of each city has grown quite a bit, especially Otsego, St. Michael, and I think that what we should be doing is looking at it being proactive versus reactive and looking at it now versus 10 years from now. And then that will have our county commissioners in the right areas and promoting for the right districts.
All right. Any response? Essentially, yes, Otsego has grown 47% in the last 10 years. That's true. And, we'll continue to grow along with other cities. But I don't know if there's, do they usually go from 5 to 6 commissioners?
No, you
It
can't.
goes from
You gotta
5
have
to
an
7.
odd number.
So,
It has to
yeah.
be an odd one.
It would have to be
5 to 7. Yeah, we can't have an even number of commissioners, so.
Okay, so then maybe we look at 7 districts.
And when our population, what is the
Anything
number?
over 100,000, you
Yeah,
can do
you
that.
could go with 7.
Correct.
But,
Madam Chair?
yeah.
I think it might be a little too late to do that now with what's going on. To try and redraw these districts and get it out in time for people to get to sign up for the districts, because it's going to be starting the middle of next month.
Right.
So I don't think we could do it within a 2.5, 3 week time frame.
And, it's going to be a while before the numbers would shift that much, to throw off the 10% difference in the different districts. So, we do want to be proactive in what we do, but Commissioner Lyons is right to draw something different because we didn't have to do it, because the districts were all still in good shape as far as, the numbers. That probably is something that we would have started in January, February, to look at. I don't know when they did it last time, but we would have had to start, so you have a couple of months to.
So that's a great question. Why wasn't it?
Because we didn't have to, because our numbers were all good.
To whose liking? Numbers all good for what, for who, how?
For the state, because all of our numbers, we all have around 27,000 or, up to 28,000. I think the lowest number is 20.
Our lowest is 26,253.
Yep.
My district.
Up
Here we
to
go.
a little over 30,000. So the challenge, of course, being that we do have to wait for the other jurisdictions, the state, so forth lays out their districts. We did have some local jurisdictions add some precincts as well. However, it did not impact us at the county level.
Right.
Logistically, of course, if you are looking at 7, you are potentially having commissioners sitting, or at minimum, you're going to have another election. So there is the cost of that would be incurred to the county in multiple ways. So for those reasons, the staff would recommending that we just maintain that 5 districts that we have currently, knowing that we are within the rules as set forward by statute.
Madam Chair? This is the first time I've heard of anybody have any concerns about the populations.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said anything to me
Reached out to
regarding
you?
it.
Me either.
And Madam Chair, and I think, in a perfect world, I think I agree, more representation is always better, but there also is the cost associated with it, and across the nation, most counties with a population of less than 250,000 don't end up going to a board of 7, and a lot of them not until there's a population of greater of 350 to 400,000 till they actually break that threshold of 7 commissioners, largely because there's a lot of expense that goes with it. I mean, you put more board members on here, you're talking about a budgetary impact annually of close to $200,000 annually on that, as well as then you have additional election costs that are associated with it. So, and I get it from a perfect world standpoint, you're trying to finesse the expense game and then that of representation. Right now, Washington County only has 5 board members, and they're at a population of about 280,000+. I can list a large number of the counties. I think right now only Ramsey and Hennepin are the only ones, and Anoka, that have 7 commissioners.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Wider.
If Mr. Kreiser remembers, 10 years ago, Leander and I proposed a seven districts, and it overwhelmingly got turned down because of costs and stuff associated with it. But as he looked at it, it would have worked. At that time, we saw Otsego as being something that would increase in population. And so we put that at a lower number so that, see, the districts have to be within, I don't know, what percentage is it?
Within 10%.
Within 10% of each other, leveled out. So we had figured out something, mainly my husband, because he likes numbers. So he sat there and figured that out, and it was presented, and like I said, turned unanimously down because of costs. And I looked at it, basically, we looked at it as, yeah, there would be more money involved as far as the actual elections. There would be more involved because of the salaries, but yet the committees could be divided out so that there would be less committees amongst all the commissioners to go to also. So that would, kind of outweigh what the salaries would be is what we looked at too. So, I mean, that would be the same, so.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say, but it's been tried.
Madam Chair.
Ketchmark?
And I have to speak from my travels. I haven't heard anyone have any interest in changing them right now. There hasn't been any conversation, but thanks for coming in, taking the time. So you said we should take a look at it now. What would you propose? Because I want to give you a chance to say anything else besides take a look at, but what would your thoughts be?
Well, as it stands now, we have 5 districts, and I think Otsego should be its own district. So pull out St. Michael and put them in, I don't have my map in front of me. I don't know if it was District 4, I'm trying to think what it was. But anyway, pull out St. Michael altogether and just have Otsego be 1, Rockford Township, Rockford City. I don't know that their whole population is the same as, just Otsego by itself is almost 20. So if you go and you take, St. Michael's awfully large too, they're close to us. So, taking in, I don't know if Rockford and Rockford Township could go into the St. Michael portion, but just really looking at taking St. Michael out of Otsego, keeping Otsego as its own, and then recreating and juggling the numbers to make it still 5 districts, if that's what we need to stay with, but making it that 10% threshold, if that's what we need to stay within.
And Tina, if you did just have Otsego be their own, you wouldn't be within the 10%.
What are we at then?
So you need basically St. Michael or, part of.
And take Albertville.
Or whatever.
Take Albertville. They're closer to us. That would make more sense to me, Otsego and Albertville versus St. Michael. I guess how the lines are now just don't make any sense to me. And again, this is way before my time, but
It was way before our time.
It was
if,
before our time. too.
sure. And if, just not Otsego by itself, then put Albertville within that. So Otsego and Albertville, that should make up the 10% right there. And then work your lines with St. Michael, maybe Rockford. Again, I'd have to have the map in front of me.
Again, Madam Chair, we really can't do it at this point anyway, because of the timeframe. And again, nobody had ever said anything in the past with an issue, so.
Well, and that's fine, Mark, but I mean, I do have an issue and I'm coming forward. So I am saying something, I'm opening my mouth, and some people don't want to come up here and open their mouth, but I'm different. So that's what I want to share with you, and I think it should be looked at.
And it will
How long
be.
does it take to redistrict lines?
And when we, when we got all the numbers and that kind of stuff, and we put it out there, about commissioner districts wouldn't change, and I don't even recall when that was, if that was in
quite a while ago.
February or January, I can't remember now. But, so it's been out there for a while, and that would have been a better time to have this discussion. Unfortunately,
Well, it would have been nice, because Mark is our representative for Otsego, and I haven't seen him all year long. So it would have been nice for him to come to us and say, listen, this is what's going on, this is, just some information in regards to that, because we're in the dark.
Madam Chair, I just want to reply to this question here. First of all, it's not too late. I mean, we wouldn't be having this hearing right now. It would just hypothetically say that everybody, all 5 commissioners agreed here and said, yep, we are going to take Albertville and Otsego, make it a district, and take St. Michael and just flop that other part of St. Michael. Everybody agreed, it's a done deal. Then that's what it does. Then it may trigger some other things that may have to happen based on that. But is it plausible? Is it possible? Yes. Now let's talk about from rationale. There is some rationale to it when you think about it. Albertville is basically flatlined in population growth. Otsego has an immense amount of potential growth yet. So that actually may set you up for possible better representation over the next decade, as well as possible not having large redistricting issues in 10 years from now. But yeah. I'm just.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate that.
Madam Chair?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
I had a question about the process. The date's been kicked around. Is it too late, isn't it? How did this date get set? Is it in statute that you have to have the hearing by this date, or can it be any time during the election year, or how is that determined?
So there's a whole time frame that extends earlier into the year. A lot of it is you have to make sure that your districts are going to be contiguous, both at the state and other levels. So if we needed to move, we have to get that information in first, which is not, we don't get that information all compiled until into April here. The map that we had put together went out approximately the 1st of April. We did have to publish this notice for multiple weeks in order to have the meeting today. We do have to adopt a resolution basically by the end of the month, probably do it at next week's board meeting. So there is a bit of a window that we have to land in based on when we get the information in, be able to put the maps together, and then hold this event today. So,
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Vetch.
Greg, I just want to make sure that you're legally, what he's right down in there is pretty sound to it, right?
So if we made a change, we have to have it done by next Tuesday.
And there'd be more commissioners up for reelection.
Yeah.
Well, Madam Chair, Commissioner Vetch,
Potentially.
Commissioner Dahliden, it all depends on what happens. I believe we were supposed to have it done by May 3rd,
Okay?
correct.
and we have 3 districts, so you have 2 weeks. You're looking at different maps. Staff can put something together. We just have to make sure that there aren't any islands, that everything's contiguous. And we have to make sure that we balance within the 10%.
Right.
And
If
Otsego
the
and
board is directing staff to do that and come up with draft plans, we can do that.
I mean, if
how would
we're
that
even
affect
what?
how would that affect who's?
It would it would affect Mark and Mary's districts and that's what I'm saying, if we're doing it, if they are, it's their citizens, and if they feel like that's gonna get better representation for it, the methodology, there does make some sense to it, but I wouldn't do it unless you're in favor of it, and.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
I guess District 4, my district, is already the smallest district. You're already proposing to take some away from mine, so
It would actually make it from 26,000 to 28,000, making it more in line with all the other
Well,
populations.
if they were to take away Albertville.
No, they'd
No, you'd get St. Michael.
You
then.
would get all of St. Michael.
Oh,
You'd be taking,
yeah.
yep, they increase yours would go up to be
Oh,
one of the
okay,
larger
I didn't think
populations.
about
Yep.
that.
Yeah, no, you get all of St. Michael then. I mean, it does, you know, I
did
agree,
think
it does,
about that,
it does
yeah.
make sense, but I just don't know how this all shakes down, so.
I mean, Albertville and Otsego do share the fire departments. It makes no difference to me. I just wish
Yeah.
somebody would have said something earlier.
Yeah, so we could have had
Now,
a
I have
map,
been to
a
a few
map
of the
drawn.
Otsego meetings this year, and it's never been brought up. And in fact, I was there after the initial population was out and talked about how Otsego became the largest city in Wright County. I don't know, you might not have been at that meeting. But it makes no difference to me. I won't be running, so.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Jillian Hendrickson, Albertville, 6638 East Laketown Drive. I have actually called the county and asked questions about this. Unfortunately, nobody called me back, and frankly, the person I spoke with was extremely rude to me on the phone when I called for more information. So I just wanted to share that. I know that our city administrator was able to connect with administrator this last week to talk about it. We haven't had Commissioner Wetter out to talk about redistricting. So in knowing that since April 1st, you know, I've kind of been looking at this, talking to previous county commissioners from other counties, and trying to better understand the legality behind it. And it's my understanding that, and it's already been said, that this is only looked at usually every 10 years. My question to the board would be, why can't we look at it in 5 years? Knowing that both St. Michael and Otsego are growing tremendously quickly, I'd want to make sure that the population that commissioners are representing is actually respectable. And in conversations, this secondhand information that administrators Lee and Navstead discussed that 10 years ago, this was looked at to prepare for the growth so that this wouldn't be an issue this year. So my question is, another question is, why is the board not looking at this in now so that it's not such a substantial issue in the next 10 years? So those are some of my questions. My other questions are, from a state statute standpoint, I know that when necessary, or when it's the ability to keep a city together, that you try to keep a city together in a county district. So that being said, I don't want to speak for St. Michael because I think they like having two commissioners to lobby. But if they had the ability to go to one city in one district, I would think that that would make sense. So I'm just curious why that isn't being looked at when you have the cities of interest right now that are growing so quickly that you wouldn't want to make a change to protect, the next 10 years from being so lopsided. Is there an opportunity to do it halfway through if there's not enough time to notify the public now? I understand all those things, and I also understand that dragging out public hearings isn't always the favorite thing to do because I sit on the city board, but I do think it's something worth discussing. Let's see, I'm looking at my notes here. In regards to Albertville, we don't want to be split up. We were split up in the past, so as a city, we only grew like 800 people. Our city's pretty built out at this point. But what I don't understand is when you look at the round test of these districts, they're very kind of gerrymandered, and I understand that it probably was done based on population, but when you look at some of these districts, and you wonder, Rockford Township, in District 5, and I have the populations here. Yes, right now the largest district is District 3, Otsego's. So when you look at all of those things and you know of the growth, my question is, I understand elections cost money, but if this can't be looked at again in 10 years, why wouldn't we want to make sure that the people who live in the communities are properly represented? So those are my comments.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Delighten.
Greg, can this be looked at any time? I mean, could it be redone?
In 2 years?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Delighten, we do this after the decennial census. That's when we're allowed to do it by statute. It's every 10 years. once
So-
we get the official census numbers.
So it can't be done
We
then?
will not be doing this in 5 years. No, not by law. So I guess staff, public hearing's still open, but if the board wants staff to come up with new maps and plans, we'll do that. Take whatever
So-
direction you give.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak before I turn it back to the board?
I wasn't completely finished, but, so what I've been hearing thus far is just a lot of excuses why it can't be done now. And I think it can be done. We've got 2 weeks till by what, May 3rd? I think something like this could be accomplished easily. You just got to do it. So I feel that you're just coming up with more and more excuses not to do it when you should be saying, yes, this is something simple that we can get done within the 2 weeks by May 3rd.
That's assuming the city of St. Michael is willing to go along with it.
Right.
Which they're not here, so we don't know that.
Right, right.
And again, you know, this is the first we've heard of any issues, concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Because I called like April 2nd.
You should have, well,
To Madam Chair, and to a lot of these things, whether it's St. Michael, whether Albertville, I mean, you know, you can say Albertville wants this, St. Michael wants this. At the end of the day, you have to look at it from a representation standpoint and not look at it from the lens as to does one community like it and another one not, because you're never going to get a map that's going to get everybody happy. Now, the other piece you have to look at it is, we're not, from a timing perspective, we're not talking about dumping the whole box out and trying to make the whole puzzle. You're literally talking about, because all the growth issues are in a very condensed area. You're just talking about switching one city for one precinct, and that's it. I mean, it's not an immense amount of time, staff time to do that. It's just a matter of, does the board have the desire to do that with foresight, saying that you're going to have better level playing field from a representation standpoint.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Leiden?
Greg, would District 4 then also have to be up for reelection then, if we did this?
Probably.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dahl-Leiden, I can't answer that without looking at the map and having the numbers calculated. So if you want us to look at that, I need a week.
Madam Chair,
It takes a week away.
if there's no other public comment, I guess we'll wait till this is
Yeah,
closed.
is anybody else from the public want to speak? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, close the public hearing and bring it up to the board.
Madam Chair, do we ask it 3 times if anybody wants to speak? So I want to make sure we do this by the book.
Yeah, anyone else from the public like to speak? Anyone else from the public like to speak? Okay. Now I'll officially close the public hearing. Thank you, Commissioner Vett. All right. What are your wishes? Would you like to make a recommendation to have staff draw the map to swap those, basically, the two, Albertville and St. Michael 2, right?
Yes.
Yep.
St. Michael 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
P2 and 4, and
Okay.
Albertville 1 and 2.
Okay.
Madam Chair, when I'm looking at it, if you're just going to be swapping, you're not really creating more representation.
No.
You know, because you're not adding a couple more people, are we?
Well, you're changing a population, saying that
Yeah.
your district right now is representing 26,000, and if you change that, you flop those, you would be, the differences would put those two very, very close, of both of them having around 27,000 each district. Now, when you're forecasting out, Albertville has almost very little potential for growth because they're built out. Otsego has an immense amount of growth that will outpace that of St. Michael P2, because a lot of St. Michael P2 is built out. So it's saying that it's going to keep that district's keeping much more in line over the next decade, is what the argument is.
Oh, it's
The
just
argument is-
alignment. I thought it
Yep.
was for more representation too.
Well, no, it's how many people,
You represent.
Yeah, you represent.
And communities that you represent.
how many people, yeah.
And then it's also saying that, St. Michael's the only community in the county that gets 2 votes on the county board, where this would basically then put it a level playing field that no city has.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's another argument, because when you're talking about leverage in terms of getting projects, there's a perception, whether it's reality or not is a different discussion, but there's a perception that St. Michael has leverage on that, in that perspective.
All right, so I would be looking for a motion to direct staff to take a look at, to redraw this map, compare the population, see what that population falls within the 10% for each district, correct?
Madam Chair, I have no problem with having staff look at it.
Right.
And then giving St. Michael the option to see if they have any issues with it.
Yeah, you have to talk to St. Michael.
But yeah, I see no reason why they can't bring something together in a week. Since Greg wants to work the weekend, then get it all done.
All right.
Go ahead.
Attorney Kreiser?
If I could, Madam Chair, Commissioner Dahlite, if you're looking at doing this to next week, I think you should continue the public hearing.
Okay.
Allow
you
anyone
would.
to have any comment on the new map.
Have
as well.
a public hearing in the new map.
Yes, well, continue the public hearing next week, if you're looking at having staff.
We will
draft something
continue
up.
the public hearing then.
And then you'll also find out if District 4 is going to have to be up for re-election too.
Yep. So is there a motion then? Is that your
That's the
motion to direct staff?
motion. Yep.
Okay.
Sure, and I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lyden, second by Commissioner Wetter. Any more discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark?
as far as running for election again by existing board members, is the worst case scenario, I'll say, for those that don't want to run again necessarily, is it District 4's would be the one, or is there potentially two of us that are still going to be here next year would have to run again?
No, it would
No.
just be Mary's seat that would be potentially, that would have to be open again if because the odds are if you made that switch, there'd be greater than 10%. Just peripherally, I can tell you it's more than 10% of a change in population. So it would trigger that seat to be up. So then we'd have 3 seats that would be up for the election in this coming year.
This year.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it would not impact the other districts.
I would like to see more public input on this than 2 people, I guess.
I'm
But
leaving it
if
up
we're
to
going to
you guys.
continue it, then maybe we get that, one side or the other.
Right, and so, yes,
With the whole
So-
county paying potentially for the election and everything else.
right.
And most of us not hearing any feedback from any constituents, I think it's good to extend opportunity for the public.
Yep, yep, good point. So we will vote on this. If they're all in favor of having staff draft the new map and looking at the election aspect, and anything else to add on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, thank you. So we will continue this public hearing to Administrator Kelly. That be
Next week.
That'll be the 26th meeting.
26 at 10:30 a.m.
And we'll work on getting some maps drawn up as quickly as we can on that. We will have to take action next week, so.
All right. All right, anything else on that, staff? Or board staff? All right, so
We're not making it through very far of the agenda here, are we?
moving on. We have
Chad.
in-house. Oh, there, Chad. I thought I saw you earlier, and I looked out and didn't see, I didn't see you in the front row. I'm looking.
Yes, me. Thanks, Commissioners. We just have one agenda item today. It's just to approve the Transportation Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from April 5th and then allow us to act on the recommendations. The minutes were attached to the agenda item.
All right, does anyone have any questions or comments about, yeah, thank you, that was a good meeting.
Yeah, it was good.
Had a
Yeah.
lot of good information.
I'll make a motion to approve the Transportation Committee of the Whole and act on the recommendations.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Gline, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Fetch. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. Thank
Thank you for
you.
your time.
All right, Mr. Matt Treichler, Chief Deputy.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the
Morning.
board. So in front of you today is a resolution to accept a federal boating safety supplemental equipment grant. The non-matching grant for the purchase of a Zodiac rescue boat and 5 dive equipment, both warm water and cold water.
A nice amount, huh?
Yeah, yes.
All right, is there a motion to accept this?
Madam Chair, I'll make a
Grant.
motion to accept the Federal Boating Safety Supplemental Equipment Grant.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Lyden. Any discussion? Hearing none, resolution, roll call vote, Commissioner Ketchmark.
Aye.
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 I'm sorry.
Mary?
I'm sleeping
That's
here.
all right. Resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, nice to get that $52,000. Huh?
Yes, thank you.
All right, Mr. Brad Harrington, Parks and Recreation.
Morning, Madam Chair and the board. So I'm here today just to get approval from our Parks Commission meeting, the minutes from there from March 14th, which also includes the approval of a special event permit and the fees that go along with that, as well as our equipment rental fees that we're proposing for our summer equipment and our winter equipment, as well as some programming stuff. So, are there any questions? Everything should have been attached for you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The Park Board had discussed this at length over a number of different meetings, and Park Board believes that this is a fair way to do it regarding the shelters and facilities.
For the renting and that
Yeah,
kind of
and then also with the food trucks and food vendors having those people an opportunity to go into the different parks without, with making it fair across the board and making sure everything is legal. So I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations for March 14th. Do we need 2 separate motions, Lee, or can we do it with one?
I think that includes the approval of the permit.
Yeah, these were all in the Parks minutes.
It's all part of the minutes.
It's all
Yeah,
part.
approve the minutes and the recommendations from the Parks
Correct.
Commission.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations from the Park Commission.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Lyden. Is there a second?
I can second it.
Second by Commissioner Vetch. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion
Thank you.
carries. They are approved. Thanks, Brad. Okay, now I got my stuff all mixed up here. All right, moving on to items for consideration. Administrator Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did receive a request from Rockford Township to provide a letter of support for a grant application they are looking to make regarding their East End Rockford Township broadband project with the Department of Economic Development. We've included the letter of support in your packet. We also recently just addressed one at the EDA yesterday. Similar language for the project as well. So I'll stand for any questions. Otherwise, pretty straightforward letter of support on this project.
All right. Yeah, we're certainly had a consensus yesterday that it was a great idea for them to apply for that grant. So is there a motion to approve that letter?
I'll make a motion to approve that letter.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lyden, seconded by Commissioner Wetter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed? All right. Motion carries. We'll get that letter sent. All right. Schedule of voter integrity follow-up meeting. Suggested dates, May 3rd, 10th, and 17th. We had gotten a request, and I think everyone perhaps saw that.
So, Madam Chair, if
Do a
I could,
follow-up?
This was an item that was discussed and carried over from the workshop, just as an FYI, as well as the next item. Did receive some follow-up information from the interested party. The 3rd of May no longer works for them, but the 10th and 17th would still be available if we're interested.
So perhaps a committee of the whole meeting after
Or on the workshop itself? What do we have scheduled for the workshop?
There's not a workshop on the 3rd.
No, on the
On the
10th.
10th.
You said the 3rd won't work.
I'm sorry.
That's correct.
So,
So it would be the 10th, if you want to do it during the workshop.
I think maybe after the workshop?
Doesn't matter.
That would be,
Doesn't
I would
really
either do a committee of the whole following the workshop on the 10th, or do potentially at the workshop. I do know we have a few items that are coming in the workshop. They've indicated they may want a fair amount of time as well, so it may become a long workshop if we add this to it, so.
Or do you want to go and do it as a 1 o'clock committee of the whole, get workshop done in the morning and have a little break in between, so there's, I don't know if I like those 5-hour
Yeah.
marathons without a.
Either that or go with the 17th. Oh.
You know, committee of the whole on 17th after, because workshops are, you know, fairly intense in a way because we take in a lot of information and,
And the 10th will be a very busy day for me anyways.
okay, yep.
But, oh, it's up to the rest of
I'm
you.
fine with either one.
Should we go with the 17th at 11 a.m.? That work for everyone?
Good.
Is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to set a committee of the whole on May 17th at 10:30 following the county board meeting. Committee of the whole.
10:30 or 11? Or-
We'll go 10:30.
Okay.
If we're running 10 minutes behind, we're running 10 minutes behind, but
Okay. All right, motion made by Commissioner Batch for the 17th at 10:30. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Wetter. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Number 3, discuss the county board meeting schedule for May. Commissioner Ketchmark, you had requested this?
Yeah, thank you,
Oh,
Madam
shoot.
Chair. I'm gonna be gone on the 24th of May, and I was wondering if there'd be interest in making that the canceled board meeting, and then having a board meeting on May 31st instead. So I wouldn't
Well,
miss the board meeting.
That's with Memorial Day, the
Day
30th.
after Memorial Day.
I think that's why a lot of them wanted the
Yeah.
31st off.
I think that's why we said it back when, but
neither of them bother me either way, so it doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter either
If
for
you want
me.
to switch it to the 21st versus the 31st,
I'm open, doesn't matter to me.
Makes no difference to me.
All right, then I'll make a motion to modify to remove our scheduled county board meeting again on the 31st and to cancel the May 24th county board meeting.
I'll second that.
All right. More discussion on that?
I'll just thank the board for being flexible.
Great.
Absolutely.
Motion made by Commissioner Besh, second by Commissioner Ketchmark. No more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes.
Madam Chair, I guess I didn't realize what this was on here, but regarding the board meetings, are we going to have the board meeting next week in this location, since we had a public hearing? My understanding is that the commissioner's boardroom is not totally 100% yet, and
Correct.
I'd rather have that discussion now instead of later,
How
since
does
we're
that work
talking
with a
about it.
continued public hearing?
I think
Mhm.
it's
The
continued,
location.
so we'll still be here, correct?
think-
mean,
I would think
we're
so.
gonna be here.
Greg, is that true? If we had continued the public hearing and since it was scheduled for here, does that?
And they're probably not gonna be ready, or, you know, they might be, but we need to give them a week.
It's,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dolan, I think here at 9:30 would be the best option
Yep.
for next week. And I'm gonna, I think I still have 2 hours to hit the publication deadline, so I'm gonna publish it this Friday as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, they, you know, it's very close, but I think they're still doing some tweaks, correct, Mr.
Yes,
Kelly?
it is, I don't want to say a day-by-day situation, most of the technology installed, however, it has not entirely been configured, nor have any staff been trained to operate the board meetings. Additionally, there's a number of lights that are getting hung tomorrow and installed, so we're waiting on a little bit of stuff. I would feel much comfortable, as Mr. Kreiser suggested, we posted for this room and plan to be here another week.
Okay. All right.
Frank gets more time.
Yep. You get to come here one more week at least.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I'll ask because this has come up. The constituents are wondering too about the board meeting still being here and the rest of the building open over there. Is this in line with the contract arrangements? Is there any kind of penalty or anything else that comes into play because of things that aren't working over there when the rest of the place is working?
I guess to your point, we've received the certificate of occupancy quite a while ago already. As far as, I don't view it as a lack of fulfillment of the contract or use of the building. We knew at the time and made the decision that we would be moving in knowing there was additional work to be completed. If we wait, that's the strategy we had employed with other buildings that we moved into as well. So knowing there would be, if we waited till everything was absolutely perfect, we still wouldn't be in the building. So I feel we've reached substantial completion and we're able to move operations there but for the board meeting. And a lot of that was really driven by supply chain issues. We're still having challenges getting our badges and doors readers, among other things related to technology. So I don't feel that it's a fault of the contractor. It's just a challenge of getting some of the equipment and materials too.
I'm asking because the constituents are asking, and I'll say it's a little bit of a pain for board members to come over with no desk phone, no printer, flip-flop back and forth, and our staff also to have to pedal over here or go by Zoom. So I just wanted to make sure that that was covered in a contract or not, and that we understand what we're getting, I guess.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, and I think, you know, COVID threw everything out the window on that side of it. I mean, if we could have got the software, hardware stuff piece of it on time, we wouldn't be just dogged out on getting in over there. But, so I think everybody has to have a little bit of level of onus slash forgiveness because we're all still dealing with the repercussions of that, so.
Yeah, remember originally we were supposed to be in there in October and then January, and we're finally there, so.
Thanks for the feedback.
Okay. All right. Our next item is Mr. Mark Mattice. Are you taking this or you just put it on? Request a, yep.
Madam Chair, members of the board. Looking to request to set a date and time for public hearing for a related item, temporary placement of mobile home for supportive care. Looking for April 26th. I don't think it'll be a long public hearing, so it could be 9:20.
Is that time for publication since it's a public hearing?
Yes, sir. Okay. We have, when we send out the comments section, we advertise that to those within 500 feet of affected property, that we'd be doing that. State posting.
Okay.
Madam Chair, and these ordinance is similar to that of those of like a secondary farmhand, but it's for palliative care.
Right.
Yep.
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 And we have that, I mean, but it's a little tweaking of the policy, or it's.
So they go through planning and zoning, they look
Yep.
at the septic system, they look at building codes, they look at everything. They'll have their staff reports to me here this week, which will be in your agenda packet for the 26th, and everything should be available.
All right, so their motion, this is for the county policies detail the purpose and processes related to supportive care temporary placement of mobile homes. So, is there
And just for clarification, this is a request to place a mobile home that came in through the policy. This is not a revision of the policy.
Yeah, it's not a revision of the policy, it's a request to place a mobile home. You have to approve it as a county board. You have
Got
to
it.
accept the
Okay.
findings and recommendations as a county board to allow that placement.
that particular, okay,
And
got
Madam
it.
Chair, when you're So the question that was, I guess, because I was a little bit confused on, with it coming from administration, I thought we were reviewing the ordinance, because typically these requests go through P and Z and they make that request.
That's kind of odd, Commissioner Rich. In the ordinance, it says that HHS does an assessment. They say there's a need. That need goes to planning and zoning. Planning and zoning reviews that need and building codes and all that good stuff, septic systems. However, comments are supposed to go to administration. Administration then does this for you as the county board to review the request, and then you as the county board approve it.
Have the final approval.
Final approval.
So I think this is probably
Instead of
been
the
done,
comments going to planning and zoning, they come to administration.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a different process. It's a
so
slightly
we've done it
different
differently
process.
many different times in the
Yeah,
past.
because it's
Okay.
not looking at it as a variance or as a lot line adjustment or any of those types of things. I would go through Board of Adjustment. It's, is there a need? Yes, there's a need. Can the site handle it? Is the septic handle it? Type of thing, and then you guys as a county board approve that request.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Wetter?
Sorry, I was coughing before, but I didn't want to break in on coughing. But I know through the Central Council on Aging, they've been talking about this quite a bit, and I understand that it was going to go into the legislature, even talking about actually allowing people to either have I can't think of what the word would be, but having another, whether you make like a shed into, or bring in a mobile home or something like that, either to have your parent, your aged parent, to be taking care of them, or maybe even having a caregiver to come and live in that home, or other, a staff building anyways to, and I know Isanti County has really pushed it and actually gone ahead with it and okayed it, so I don't know where it's at, if the legislature has been actually hearing it or not, but I know that it's out there and talked about quite a bit, because these nursing homes and that, they're having problems getting help too, like everybody. And if a parent or a guardian, or if you can hire somebody just to come in and take care of someone, that's an alternative.
Right.
Madam Chair, Commissioner
Yes.
Wetter, we've had this ordinance on the books for quite some time. So it is just basically an approval process with staff findings. Get a lot of negative comments, you get to hear those type of things, or positive comments, so.
Yeah.
If there is legislation out there, I'm sure we'll be apprised if we have to change or modify any of our existing rules and policies and ordinances that go with that. But at this time, we've been working on this, I don't know, I think I've seen one done in 2016 or something, I think was the last kind of one that we did, so.
I was going to say,
It doesn't happen often.
no.
And then the public health does a reassessment on an annual basis, and then there's removal processes and all that type of stuff, so.
Sounds good.
All right. We didn't have a motion on that yet, right?
Didn't we?
Did we?
Did we make a motion?
Just setting date and time, and then a motion would be great.
Yeah, okay. So we're looking
26th at what time?
at 9:30?
Are we continuing,
When we were doing
district
public
mapping at
hearing?
9:30, so this would have to be either before or after.
Okay.
I'd say before, depending on what else we have.
Yeah.
Because that other one, I think it's gonna go a little long.
I don't envision this public hearing for this being
No.
lengthy. I
So
have one comment.
you could probably do 9:20, like you said, you could do 9:20.
9:15, 9:10?
9:20?
9:18.
I say 9:20?
Okay.
9:20, yeah.
921.30.
All right.
So what is it?
I'll make a motion to approve the public hearing for 9:20 at, on April
26.
26th.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Lyden. Is there a second?
I'll second.
By Commissioner Wetter. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. All right. So Next one, request approval of a county board resolution designating Med Surety LLC and Matrix Trust as a health reimbursement arrangement, our HRA trustee for the county.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the county board resolution designated Med Surety LLC and Matrix Trust as health reimbursement account for the county.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Besch, second by Commissioner Leiden. Is there any discussion? So we had one company sold to them, and so it looks like it's going to be a good arrangement. So. No other discussion? Roll call vote. Commissioner DeLayden?
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to County Board Workshop, Administrator Kelly. Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met as the Board of Commissioners in a workshop on April 12th of 2022. A number of staff in attendance. We did have 3 members present and 2 absent from the board. First item, as always, was to schedule meetings as needed. We did talk through a couple letters of request that were submitted, both for some letters to our congressional delegation regarding funding for I-94 as well as 610. Those were approved and sent forward. We also did mention the Department of Economic Development Office of Broadband request from Rockford Township, which was adopted at this meeting. Additionally, talked about the meeting that was just scheduled for voter integrity and the item Commissioner Ketchmark brought forward about the May 24th meeting. So recommendations on this first one were to schedule the voter integrity follow-up meeting, which has taken place, as well as discuss the county board meeting schedule for May, which we've just done. So second item was an update from the Great River Regional Library and their 2021 activities. Karen Punsack, the executive director, provided an overview and their 2021 annual report and impact report. Quickly summarizing, we continue to see a great deal of usage within Wright County at our library system. I spoke a little bit about Howard Lake doing some improvements at their location as well. So just mostly an informational item at this point. Item number 3 was the compost and recycling facility assessment update. Staff provided an overview of this process. A little bit of history was discussed as well. I think all kind of agreed that this has come up multiple times and we want to take action given that the site is a bit less than optimal. Kind of talked about 5 different options that was brought forward by Mr. Reinberger about maintaining what's existing there, maintaining the existing with some potential site improvements. Third option being add drive-through addition on the south side of the process building, removing the office building and creating a new household hazardous waste facility, or modifying the compost hangar area. So the discussion was to seek direction, and then Stantec, the consultant, would provide rough cost estimates based on the direction that was received. We did have quite a bit of discussion on the various different options throughout the meeting, and potential of what we may want to do in the future. So the recommendation was staff will look into the possible auction of the scale. Stantec will provide cost estimates for building a new facility on the north side of the property and for enclosing the hangar. Committee of the whole meeting will be scheduled once those cost estimates are prepared. Item number 4 was an aggregate tax update. Auditor Treasurer Hevola had put together a presentation recently to present to his colleagues, provided an overview of those operations and the history within the county. Given the statute was established in 1980, the county board had discussions many years ago on implementing an aggregate tax. Spoke a little bit about the auditor's responsibilities related to auditing and compliance and kind of the process that he follows in order following up, starting with a letter, contacting haulers. He did provide a summary of some of the materials that were hauled out. So kind of jumping ahead, we did have some discussion also about abandoned pits and funds that have been collected over the time. We do have an inventory and information that's been gathered on the townships regarding these pits and following up. So it was the recommendation that staff would develop an abandoned pit definition. Next item was regarding the fairground roofs, brought forward from administration seeking direction from the county board on how to proceed with this item. We had a loss a while ago. We've now will need some repairs to be made, and the dynamic being the fair board is responsible for those repairs. The deductible, as stated by Risk Manager Tim Dahl, is $5,000 deductible. The Ag Society had requested that rather than an asphalt replacement, they seek a steel replacement for these areas, which will be a little bit higher than the proceeds that were coming from insurance. So discussion was who was going to move this forward, what staff would be coordinating, whether that would be from the Wright County side or the Fair Board side, and additionally the additional cost. Discussion carried forward about the potential of selling the fairgrounds property to the Fair Board. And that was kind of the last item of the discussion that resulted in the recommendation of scheduling a committee of the whole meeting with the Fair Board to discuss. Item number 6 was an update regarding the new government center provided by Alan Welsek. Kind of talked on a few things regarding the license center and some challenges there that have been resolved, as well as an update on the boardroom. Spoke about the Health Partners Clinic, which opened on, actually it says the 18th here. We actually opened on the 11th with that, and kind of talked on the process moving forward with items that are still at this building and disposition of that, as well as at the Health and Human Services Center. So the recommendation was that staff would contact the Wright County townships and governmental agencies to gauge interest in any old furniture, chairs, tables, and cubicles from this facility, see if we can get some reuse. So with that, a brief summary of the minutes, Madam Chair.
It was a lot of discussion.
A lot of items on that one.
A lot of items, so. Is there a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendation?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendation.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Glyden. Is there a second? And then discussion.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Discussion?
Madam Chair, I was hoping that the board will at least take a friendly amendment to the recommendations and at least consider the logo in the boardroom. If nothing else, and I know they're gone for that workshop, but that design, that Wright County knot in the back of the boardroom, that it crosses through it, at least in the short term, I'd like to see at least a different logo that doesn't basically have that architectural design that was not in the renderings that I've ever seen. And that's a bad, that to me, that's a bad on BKB.
I think, yeah, offline, we've had discussions what to do with that. You know, like the outline of the county.
Yeah.
Perhaps just filling that in with the same, you know, probably with black, so it's the same color or whatever, so.
Yeah, I think Alan talked about otherwise just getting a Wright County stone cutout piece that would be attached there or something like that. I just wanted to get this staff direction to be able to start doing at least that much. We can discuss if that doesn't make it look better down the road, but at least in the short term, we got to do something better than right now. Having that, I don't know what you call it, that was,
I mean, I like actually the design of the line, but going through the county itself, you know, I like the line otherwise. It just, you know, I don't know if that's, if that's my other side, if that's the other side of my brain or what, but I do like that line, but it you know, not through the county. You don't want people to think that you're dividing the county, so, but.
It is an odd thing. Makes no difference to me.
Alan said it would be, doing the logo piece was nominal cost.
Right, he was working on quotes for a couple different options, enclosing it, enlarging. There was also some discussion about moving potentially more vertical up the wall, may change the dynamic as well, so.
Kind of just looking at that too, and it might be a little bit out of, you know, if it was a larger outline, you know, that might be the other thing too. and then it would reach a little closer to Wright and County. So there's a couple of different things. It might be a little unbalanced that way, but yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Vetch wasn't here last week, but we had our facilities manager at the pulpit there, and it sounds like that was a county staff decision and design because of the way the wall was configured, that we couldn't keep it one piece, so you needed some separation. So is it still accurate that BKV and no other contractor is gonna be responsible for a correction or the cost related to that? That's all our choice then? Is that the way you understood it, Commissioner Vetch, or did you dig into it further? Or?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's.
Did we have an estimate on that? Or?
On what, the logo or the rerocking?
Well, whatever we do for a correction that's acceptable, I guess. Do we have?
So, if I could, Madam Chair and Commissioner Ketchmark, what is there was built as it was designed. It is a design feature, if you want to call it that, that's a motif that's used at different locations of the building to have that kind of line with a, how do you want to call it? It's a depth of field change. Given that that's all built in stone, it's not possible to make that without putting a cut in there. So if it is something that's going to be modified, it's probably going to be at the cost of the county to do so for doing a different logo. Or if there would be a decision to completely redo that backdrop.
So can we get a couple estimates and a couple options with price?
Correct. That's what Alan is working on at this
There's more than
time.
one, probably, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that that is in there because I don't know whoever thought that was a good idea. That's the biggest failure in terms of aesthetics, in my opinion.
We've
Well,
got
the drawings.
that feature in the other, pardon?
Drawing was hard to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that there's two different, you know, the way the wall is, you know, that was my understanding too, that it needed to be there.
Well, Madam Chair, I don't know that that's necessarily true because they've already told me that they can do it without it, so it doesn't have to be there. It was just a route that made it, at the time, I guess, maybe slightly easier if they did that, but even then, I'm still questioning. I think it was mostly done from an architectural standpoint that didn't turn out the way that they thought it would turn out, because it was, I think conceptually it was actually going to be set back even further, but I think right now I really can't even tell the difference of where it's set back when you put your hand against it.
Yeah.
But.
Well, so, yeah, basically going forward, we're going to.
Madam Chair, I guess I just would like the recommendations at least state to bring back at least options on whether it's a new logo or refixing the rock in those spots or whatever. Just give me bring us back to the board to possibly at least have that idea.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll second that.
Right. So motion made to approve the minutes with that addition or recommendation.
Commissioner Dolan made the motion. He'd have to adopt that
Okay.
piece of the recommendation.
Would you
Yeah,
accept
that's
that?
fine.
Okay. Commissioner Delight accepts, so motion made by Commissioner Delight, second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to Personnel Committee of the Whole.
So Thursday, just last week, the Personnel Committee met to discuss the items around the replacement of future accounting and IT positions. Largely, this has surrounded the vacancy of a position in HHS and the transfer of that to central finance as we move forward with centralizing financial services and technology services. So there's a lot of discussion of how this is going to transpire and how, as this transpires, how will the staffing look at from an HHS perspective and an HHS perspective, as at the current time we aren't able to move everything overnight with a flip of a switch. So what that means is it creates issues on one end or the other because we're moving workloads, but if we don't move the staff, then it creates issues. And then sometimes when you move a staff over. There's still things that they do that are remaining in HHS that creates shortage of work issues on their end. So working through this from a communication standpoint and then also working with it from a time schedule. So a lot of this discussion took place with that. So with that, we kind of came up with the recommendations that you see at the bottom there, that we were going to move the accounting staff, or add accounting staff position to the finance department, which is basically a transfer of the position that was in HHS. But in the short term, we are going to increase the hours of a current half-time accounting position in finance to a 0.8 for a period for the next couple months, just to fulfill some of the work that they still need to be done in their end. So with that, then we also had discussions from an IT perspective and centralization from IT, and working on trying to create lanes of functionality in terms of what tasks that they do as an ISS that are more of a help desk related versus being a, what we're calling a super user of the software within their department. So more discussions are going to take place with that. But in addition with that, IT Director Fomby had brought forth one of his budgeted IT positions that he wanted to fill at this time, of an IT developer position, which we found great value in, and the recommendation was to authorize the hiring of that IT developer position. So once again, to follow up, the recommendations from the Personnel Committee were to leave the HHS account tech position unfilled, authorize finance to add a staff accountant, and then authorize HHS to temporarily increase the hours of a current 0.5 FTE account tech to a 0.8 until June 30th of 2022, and then to authorize the budgeted position of an IT developer in IT. With that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendations.
Motion made by Commissioner Vetch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Blyden. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ketchmark?
Two things on the minutes here. So a comment was made by staff in the minutes that the county may still be a year out from implementing ERP. Can anybody weigh in on if that's, how accurate that is?
I'll speak to that one. Since you had asked the question to me, I think I'm the best one to respond to it. So again, ERP, I mean, we've all, it's been a long-going project. We have kicked off phase 1 here, which is slated for a October implementation date. I'm not trying to be, I want to be clear on the statement of phase 1 of ERP is planned for yet in 2022. That is not the totality of the project, as we split it out into 2 phases now. So the HCM, the human capital piece of it, is slated for a 2023 implementation. So to be clear, I mean, if you want to say a year from now we won't have it all in, that's, you could say that that's accurate in that we planned it that way to be. Phase 1 is planned for 2022. I hope that addressed your question. I'm not trying to be shady with the facts, but depending on how you want to frame the argument, I think we could both be seen as a year out is correct or not a year out is correct. So.
Well, I'm just asking because there's different staff requests and deadlines that are thrown around and the costs that go with it. So this is in the minutes and I wasn't there, so I thought I'd ask.
No. Madam Chair.
Commissioner Blyden?
Yeah, it's definitely has been some issues with it. But to Lee's point, we will be implementing quite a bit of it, and the whole idea is to try and figure out who goes where, and through attrition is how we will handle employees in the future.
Changes.
So until we know more on some of the job classifications aren't quite where they're the most accurate in what people do. So we're trying to figure out accounting techs at HHS really do a lot more than what a real accounting tech does. So we're just trying to decipher through all that sort of stuff to figure it out.
Okay, and then there's a line in there that says finance is in need of a senior accountant. Now that is not part of the the list of staff requests that we approved last budget cycle, is that true?
Staff accountant or the?
It's listed as, sorry, senior accountant.
Senior accountant.
That was a typo. It wasn't? Which one are you talking about?
It's senior accountants, on page 203, second paragraph from the bottom.
Oh, about the possibility of needing to reclassify to it?
No, finance director, assistant finance director added that the finance department is in need of a senior accountant.
Yeah.
And that's part of the recommendation is,
No, that's a staff account that because they asked for 2 senior accountants this last year, we only gave them 1. So they're still in need of that senior accountant because if you remember back to the last year when budgeting in last August, they asked for 2, we gave them 1. They're still in need of that senior accountant, but this position that we're approving with the authorization is basically a staff accountant. That account tech is now becoming a staff accountant, which is relatively, I think it's a linear move, or is it close to a linear move? I think it's 1 grade higher.
So it'll be a current probably employee that will be
transferring.
Just transferring from one place to another. They'll be applying for it.
Yep.
It'll be an internal, so it's just moving from one department to another. And it will increase a little bit, the amount because of additional time.
so it's supposed to be a staff accountant and not a senior accountant?
No, it's the senior accountant, they're just letting, and part of the discussion was talking about the holistic needs from the finance department, and part of their whole holistic needs is they needed, as they transition to the future and meeting all their needs, they will need a senior accountant. And as they're transitioning the HHS finance to central finance, they need a staff accountant, which it was an account tech right now. So we're just taking the account tech to finance and making them a staff accountant. The other part about the senior accountant was talking about holistically as if we ever move fund balance and other things back and other types of things for the organization to meet their overall encompassing goals, they will need a senior accountant at some point.
Oh.
So they're just getting us ready for their ask come budget time.
And the other issue I know Lindsay had brought up was that they don't want to overstaff because the ERP system should make things more efficient, and then they may not need it. So a lot of it's going to be kind of temporary to try and figure out what's all going to be needed. Because we really don't know how the efficiencies will improve throughout the whole organization by going to this ERP system.
Thank you, and that goes back to what my logic was at budget time, when we had at least 2 departments that were asking for several staff requests, and the language was things like we anticipate, we expect, we think, those kinds of things before this was actually here. And I subscribe more of the philosophy of the wait and see and then get them when we need them. And that looks like the case here is to put one in there that we didn't approve or intentionally didn't approve at budget time last year. So I'm going to revert back to the wait and see and not go along with adding any more until we see what we really need.
Well, that's part of the problem is that
we're not
we're shorthanded already with the contacts at HHS. There's 1 that have been pulled and that are open for HHS.
Yeah, there's one position that's open, but we're not creating any new positions here. So that, and first and foremost, all we're doing is increasing 1 employee's hours for a 2-month period of time by 0.3 hours. So and the reason we're doing that is because as we transition from HHS aspects of HHS finance to central finance, there's some other things that still have to be done over there, and because of the workload and it being in 2 separate unions, they can't do the work. They can't share the workload. So for that period of time to make that transition, we have to increase that 0.3 of hours for a 60-day period.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
0.3.
Or point, yeah.
0.3, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And
So
I'm not
going from 0.5 to 0.8
Yeah, 0.3.
position. Yeah.
Madam Chair. And I'm not debating that temporary. That sounds good. I'm debating the staff accountant. That's a permanent full-time spot, right?
But that's, if you see, we're not filling, I guess you want to take it unfill, remove the budgeted HHS account tech position is what it should say, and authorize a accounting staff position in HHS. So you're canceling one and moving, if that makes you feel better, we're canceling one. I shouldn't put it as leaving it unfilled, because we're never gonna fill it.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Mr. Dodd.
why don't we have Lindsay explain it a little bit better, just because she knows exactly what she needs and what, because her and HHS have been having continuing discussions on how to transfer and get the CRP system up and running so it's the most efficient.
We are indeed having regular weekly meetings to discuss the transition of any tasks that are possible to go from the HHS fiscal team over to central finance. The intent in this particular situation, they had a resignation of an accounting technician. They will not be filling it, but the position is coming over to my team as a staff accountant. The partial increase in that part-time staff, we need it on their side to help with this transition. When you look at the two departments in our finance realm and the whole, we are collectively down one staff member right now, and it's painful on both sides. There's a lot of transition activities going on, training, transferring of tasks, and there's a learning curve, so it's taking a lot of time. I can totally appreciate your comments on, let's wait and see if we really need this. Right now, we really need it. It's hard to keep the lights on at the moment, is what I'm telling you.
And thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Ketchmark.
And I can appreciate the temporary part, because that is more like the wait and see philosophy. Now, as far as classification comparisons of account tech to a staff accountant, what does that look like?
And is that accurate? Is that what the plan was?
It is accurate. The minutes are correct. As Vetch had commented, that the comment about the senior accountant, that is where we were gonna head in the future. The next request, if there is additional attrition from HHS, it will be for a senior accountant. We have the level of work available that we need help at that level that I cannot push down to a staff accountant or an accounting technician.
But you want to hire a staff accountant now, right?
Correct.
And how does that classification compare with the HHS account tech position that we're not going to fill?
We have accounting technicians on my staff as it is today. There are several in the county, and it's the level of work that's being done, the responsibilities that go along with that. I want to say it's 1 or 2 grades, maybe $10,000 annually from a budgetary perspective.
More or less, I'm sorry, I don't have all those things in my head, but are you saying a staff accountant gets 10,000 more or less than this unfilled spot?
More.
More.
Depending on where they are for where they are in seniority, the range. Yeah, it could be less, could be more. Not much more, but not much less.
Okay. All right, that helps, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, any more discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Recommendations and meetings are approved. Moving on to advisory committee, advisory board updates. Would you like to start, Administrator Kelly?
Certainly could. So last week, I know we've had the introductions of both Clay Wilford coming on board as Assistant County Administrator and also Lane Steffen starting as the Office Manager in the Administration Department. So glad to have them on board. Trying to impart as much knowledge and get up to speed on the county's projects over the last week. I certainly picked a fun week to join Wright County as we've had a lot of things going on. A lot of meetings to take part in. Just a few highlights. Had a good input and feedback session with Health and Human Services, just talking about centralization on Thursday morning. Also attended, of course, the Personnel Committee, and on Monday had the EDA meeting, so continued discussion with that. Also working with the projects group on a project delivery framework that we want to develop to roll out to projects across the county, so more to come on that in the future. So continue to work on the boardroom area, as mentioned, planning to be in this facility next week and target the week following for our first meeting over there, so.
Good. Thank you. Commissioner Wetter.
Okay, both Commissioner Newsom and I attended the AIS meeting. We had, went over the inspection program, and actually Jefferson Bishop was there virtually, and kind of explained about the increases in the cost of the program, because of course it takes more money to hire these days. So that was the main excuse. And then of course we talked about how to increase the decontamination numbers, and that was through incentives, and he has found out through his history with employees that it's usually money. So that's what was suggested, that maybe some sort of plan that if they increased their numbers, they would get some sort of monetary payment on their pay. Anyways, and then we talked about the CD3 and updates on the various lakes. On Pleasant, they're there, but they still have to be mounted on the concrete slabs. The DNR accesses on Sylvia, Cedar, and Sugar, they're basically waiting for DNR approval on them. And also a future site for a CD3 unit would be Pulaski, and they thought about that because they have a very active lake association, the city, and then with the SWCD's program, the cost would be fairly less for the SWCD. And then that night we had the township officers meeting, and we talked about basically about our move and the valuations increases that everybody has received. They had officer elections, and then there was quite a discussion about through Matt, their Minnesota Association of Townships, about resolutions they wanted to pass to go on to, I don't know, is it their convention or whatever, further anyways, but mainly about their meetings not being open to all their members, and a question basically of how the money's getting spent. And kind of question, well, don't they do audits? And really never got any answer on that, but that was sort of interesting. And then last Friday had the Highway 55 corridor, and we heard the updates through the different agencies. And then Representative Hertas talked about House File 339, where he, Representative O'Neill and Representative Cleveron were asking for dollars for Highway 55, where they'd have 4 lanes from Arrowhead Drive, which is in Medina, to about Highway 19 in Corcoran. So that was basically all I had. Last week I didn't attend anything because I was sick, so I did not attend anything. I didn't think anybody would appreciate me coughing all over them, so I stayed home.
Mr. Vetch.
I'll make it quick. So I just had an executive committee meeting with Central Mississippi Regional Planning Partnership, mostly just looking on the work plan and trying to scale it back. I think we got a little bit overzealous, I think, or a bit on more than we could chew from a work plan. So we're going to have some more discussions about trying to remove some of those things and trying to get ones that the group feels has the greatest value moving forward.
I think there's less interest in the whole ideas and what it was going to be at one point.
Yep, I think there's some things that we put on that work plan that I don't know that anybody has a whole lot of interest of working on, so more discussions that's gonna happen with that in the next board meeting. Other things, Commissioner Houston and I had a good discussion with the affected employees from the centralization. I think it was a very fruitful discussion, and more will come with that, but I'll save other things for a future date.
All right, yeah, and just to add a couple of things to Mary's update on Highway 55. Well, they talked about the projects on 55, so there'll be reconstruct, resurface in Annandale area, and also Zach Rodvold from Representative Dean Phillips' office said that Minnesota is slated to get $6 billion for roads and bridges infrastructure.
And you're going to spend it all in Wright County?
Yeah. That'd be nice. That set us up for years, wouldn't it?
And a bridge across the
Yeah,
river.
Replace our last 5
Hanover Bridge too?
Yeah, solve that issue too.
Right, and so, yeah, that was just kind of a extra notes, and Rockford's looking at some projects, but not impacting Highway 55, and Mayor Guyan from Maple Lake is also looking at securing funding for 55 spruce improvements for 2023, so we'll look for that. Just a brief update on state community health. Essentially, the question is, what is the role of public health? So, when we're looking at all the mental health issues and the overdoses and lead abatement, in our schools and our water systems, essentially. So, looking at there's a $6 million innovation grants, and hopefully to help assess needs and look for competitive process. They have a work group with some viewers and criteria and some projects coming forward. So we'll see how that all shakes down. And thank you to the sheriff for hosting the township officers meeting at the training facility. I think the township officers really appreciated seeing the facility and what we had out there, and you've got the data center, you've got the backup dispatch, and so they're pretty happy with that. So, Mr. Blyden.
In the interest of time, I'll pass.
Mr. Ketchmark.
Yes, Madam Chair. I had a light week. People took Easter week off. I don't have anything to report.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else that needs to come before the board? If not, we're adjourned at 11:02. Thank you.